All right, so listen, 1942, the Japanese Imperial Navy is riding super high after the bombing of Pearl Harbor. So they get this plan in their head. The plan is they're going to go grab the Aleutian Islands. Yes, America's Aleutian Islands. Now, see, their logic is that this would be a great buffer zone to stop the U.S. from bombing them. Spoiler alert, the US freaked out. So, look, we all know the golden rule of global politics: do not touch America's boats. We will literally spend trillions of dollars and reinvent physics just to ruin your day if you touch our boats. They will find that out later. But you know what gets us even more pissed off? Touching our dirt. The Japanese stepped on the front porch and Uncle Sam lost his frickin' mind. We didn't care that these islands were basically just jagged rocks where trees go to die. Those were our jagged rocks. All right, so welcome to the suck. Japan moves in. They take Attu and Kiska in June of 1942. This is the first time since the British burned the White House in 1812 that a foreign power is now occupying any American soil. The Japanese land, they look around, and then they immediately realize that they have essentially won the worst prize in history. The Aleutian Islands are home to something called muskeg. Now, muskeg, it looks really nice, like a nice grassy field, but in reality, it's a deceptive layer of moss floating on top of prehistoric slushy. If you try to drive a Jeep on it, that Jeep now belongs to the moss gods. If you try to go walk on it, you're now sinking into waist-deep, cold, wet regret. And look, that's just getting the Aleutian Islands started. There are literally winds called the williwaws that are 100-mile-per-hour gusts that come screaming off the mountains like a banshee that just stepped on their kid's Lego. They are literally strong enough to flip aircraft. Ask both parties how we know. Because imagine being a pilot and having to explain to your CO that your plane that you're issued is now upside down because the wind got a little spicy. So look, for a year, the United States and Japan play this essentially game of who can survive this climate. Japan can't get supplies into the area because the US Navy is sinking anything that resembles a bento box in the Pacific, which actually ends up leading to another battle. This is the Battle of Komandorski Islands. This was a 4-hour naval shootout, and honestly, the last great daylight surface gun battle in history. There were no planes, there were no torpedoes. This was literally just a bunch of dudes in big floating tin cans pointing giant telephone poles at each other and honestly just hoping for the best. The United States was outnumbered, outgunned, and our flagship, the Salt Lake City, literally ran out of fuel and stopped dead in the water. So this is when people come in and say, oh, so the Japanese won. No, they actually got scared that the U.S. bombers were coming to attack them. There were no U.S. bombers coming to attack them. This is essentially the tactical version of, we have to go home, I forgot the oven on. So eventually, Uncle Sam gets pissed off. 1943, it is time to take Attu back. We send in the 7th Infantry Division. Awesome. Now, one thing about the 7th Infantry Division, these guys have been training in the desert. They were prepared for 110-degree heat and sand. Guess what the Aleutian Islands have neither of? So naturally, when they send the 7th Infantry up there, they send them up to the subarctic swamps in leather boots. The result of this, you might ask? Trench foot. Over 2,000 U.S. soldiers were taken out of the fight because their feet literally started to decompose while still attached to their legs. And the Japanese, led by Colonel Yamasaki, they knew they weren't getting off that rock. So when they ran out of ammo, they did the only thing that they thought they had left: a massive banzai charge. And this wasn't just a charge, it was a desperate, horrific nightmare. Some Japanese soldiers were literally holding grenades to their chests because they didn't even have bayonets left. When the smoke had finally cleared, 2,351 Japanese were dead. The United States only found 28 survivors. That is not a casualty rate. That is a subarctic extinction event. So after the bloodbath on Attu, the United States is no longer playing around for Kiska. The United States gathers 34,000 troops, including the Devil Brigade, which is an elite Canadian-American unit. If you want to know more about that, let me know in the comments. So they begin to shell the island until the island literally looks like the surface of the frickin' moon. On August 15th, we storm the beaches. It is foggy, it is spooky, and suddenly shots are ringing out everywhere. It is pure chaos, and for 3 days, soldiers are diving in foxholes, calling in artillery, and engaging in intense firefights all around. In those 3 days alone, 100 men were lost to mines and friendly fire alone. The big problem with this, The Japanese had left 3 weeks ago. Under cover of massive fog, they snuck a fleet in and evacuated all 5,000 men in under 55 minutes. They left the lights on and they left the coffee pots out. We invaded an empty island and had a 3-day gunfight with ourselves. So look, in the end, we got our dirt back. It only cost us a few thousand cases of trench foot, quite a few ships, and the dignity of a few guys who spent 3 days shooting at Kiska's fog. The Aleutians were essentially a strategic cul-de-sac. The Japanese really didn't want them, and we realized we didn't really want them, but we'll be damned if anyone else was going to have them. This is the classic story of military stubbornness, fighting the weather, the mud, and even your own nerves on a rock that God clearly intended to be just left alone. So look, if you want to see more stories of the U.S. Army getting in fist fights with geography, hit the subscribe button down below. If you'd like me to do a deep dive into the Battle of Pips, where the Navy spent over $2 million in ammunition shooting at a swarm of seagulls, also let me know. If you like this video, hit the like button, subscribe. And if you guys want to see the next video, hit the bell. That'll come straight to you on a little notification. Bing. But I appreciate y'all. But most importantly, if you know something that you want me to cover, drop it in the comments. I would love to hear y'all's stories and what you guys think is cool. Cheers, guys. Have a good night.